Hey, welcome to Mama Mandala. I'm Hagar, and I am always so excited that you're here. Thank you for joining me. As always, there's a little bit of a philosophical concept brewing for us. The word Brahman in Sanskrit. Ooh, I said it pretty badly. Brahman. That was better. Brahman in Sanskrit is the concept of the expanse of the universe. It's the vastness of the cosmos. It's the all inclusive everythingness that exists in this creative process that is creation. And it often translates to English as the absolute. And there is a good reason why it does, because it definitely sits in the yoga tradition as the presence of that thing that includes everything. So it's considered the divine, all of spirit, all that there is, but it's the absolute with a capital A. And think about what happens to terms when we put a capital letter on them, like truth or the self. And yes, I know this is a very popular thing to do in spiritual worlds and traditions, but something in that grandness of it, and Brahman is the grandness of the universe, so I get it, but there's something in capitalizing a word that makes the conversation end to a certain degree. And when we call something the absolute and we put an A, capital A, at the beginning of the word, it closes the conversation. But Brahman is the all-inclusive and ever-expanding nature of reality. It's the expanse of the universe, and it keeps expanding. It doesn't end. It keeps evolving, even the way that the yoga tradition has. It keeps growing. It keeps moving. We continue to grow it as we have conversations with these terms. And yes, we can go into the conversation about the problematics of a Westerner, white passing person talking about something that isn't from the culture they were brought up in, and we can expand the conversation and we can argue about it, and maybe we can even hear each other's opinions about it, but we're not going to do that right now. This can be for another time and another place. We can include, even if you'd like, and this triggers you as something that is problematic, we can include the trigger and the problematicness that presents itself as for you, if it does, in the conversation. Because Brahman is inclusive and expansive. There's a great text called the Bhagavad Gita. You may have heard of it. You may have heard of it here, because I often talk about it because it's profound and rich in concepts. It comes from the Mahabharata, and that's an epic that was compiled in India over a period of about 800 years, 400 BCE to 400 CE, to kind of nutshell us into this. But the Gita, it's a conversation that happens in the middle of the battlefield, in the space between the armies. And there's two characters that are having a deep conversation about everything that you can possibly imagine. Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna is the warrior, Krishna is the charioteer, and Krishna also reveals himself to his bestie Arjuna as the divine, as the expanse of the universe. And he spends a lot of time in the first few chapters of this text, let's say the first 6 or so, including all the different traditions that came before. And that's a very yogic thing to do, to include in the conversation what came before, to include it even if you think of it as incomplete, to include it even if you don't agree with it, to let it be a part of the conversation because it is, because it's part of the foundation that brought you so far. That's very rabbinical too, very Jewish tradition kind of grows in this way too. It's very Talmudic. So we have different traditions in the world. That's also this inclusive kind of umbrella that holds beneath it many different traditions that have evolved over time in this way. And that's an interesting, beautiful thing to think about and to practice. And one of the things that happens in the story is that Krishna includes the different traditions, and then he sets himself, he presents himself, and about that we can argue too, but there's sort of this, he places himself as the next thing. It's called the new synthesis. He has a new way of looking at it. He presents himself as that all-inclusive presence in the universe. He's like the Almighty, right? So I can argue with that all along for a very long time, forever and ever. But let's just kind of take that in mythologically and also look at it as an archetype. He presents himself as the archetype of Brahman, as the archetype of the expanse of the universe, which you and I and everybody we know has. It's woven into the tapestry of who we are, the vastness of the cosmos of which we are a part is also part of us, right? The ocean is in the drop and the drop is in the ocean, kind of a concept. And so Krishna presents himself as this all-inclusive presence. He says, all these other traditions that came before, I don't agree with them fully, but they have a place, and he includes them in the conversation, and then generates the next thing. And while, again, we can argue about whether or not yoga in the West today should be doing that, but yoga in the West today is doing that. And so yoga in the West, as it is doing that, can actually become, we can continue to become it. It has become perhaps something that's very much associated only with the somatic, right? Like it's a physical practice. When people think of yoga, they think of physical practice. Yoga is practiced at the gym these days. Yoga is practiced by and taught by people that don't even know what the Bhagavad Gita is, right? And I'm not going to criticize it, or I can keep my criticism inwardly. But I can include in this conversation all the different ways that people are looking at it and practicing it and thinking about it. But I'd like to expand it. And we each can. And we each can continue. I thought about it this morning because I do some thinking in my meditation, that there were some things that I felt were limiting me and crushing me a little bit, right? Which happens to all of us, and it can often rise in our meditation, and we're going into a physical practice in a moment. But I'd like to make this point that I countered the contracting feeling that was arising with the thought, oh, what I'd like to do is expand. What I'd like to do is reach into my Brahman nature. What I'd like to do is to cultivate and generate this expansive way of being. And that expansive way includes the contraction, and I also want to reach further. I want to dig deep. I want to grow out. I want to broaden. I want to widen the way that I think of things and look at things, and also who I am in the world. Do you want to do that with me? One of the ways that we can grow is by catching where we get a little stuck at this is the right way, this is the right concept, this is the right conversation, this is the right right kind of way of doing things. Listen, there are going to be red lines where that's just wrong, but nuance, baby, nuance. We can broaden the way that we look at things by looking at things from different angle. Brahman is the capacity to turn ourselves and twist ourselves, and as we go through something, perhaps sometimes catch ourselves and realize, ooh, I'm just feeling the thing that maybe made that other person act a certain way. Ooh, just as an example. Ooh, I can go on and on about this, and I love to, and I'd love to, and we will, maybe another time. But right now, stand tall Why don't we stand in the middle of the mat? We're going to do a hand-free practice. We're not going to stand on our hands today. So stand in the middle of the mat and release your arms by your sides and allow your eyes to soften. They can close if you'd like. You can turn the gaze inwardly by closing your eyes, or you can just allow the outer world to be softer by making your eyes a little less open. If closing it all the way doesn't feel good, you don't have to. And bring awareness to your breath. And in fact, to expand the breath, contract the passageway of the breath. So tone the back of the throat. And let the breath expand itself into the boundary that you created for it. To expand, we're going to need to push against things sometimes. So inclusion doesn't mean agreeing. Reach your arms up with a deep inhalation. You can keep your eyes closed for a moment if you'd like. And exhale, join your hands together through the front of your face and to the front of your heart, and then release your arms. And again, inhale and reach up high. Lengthen your whole body down into the feet, up through the tips of your fingers. Exhale, slowly lower your hands through the front of your face and to the front of the heart. And then release your arms. And again, inhale through the tone in the back of the throat. Reach the breath, reach the arms up high, extend down and up, and exhale, lower the hands to the heart and then by your sides. And inhale and reach your arms up high. And if it feels okay for you, open up your eyes. Grab your right wrist with your left hand. I'm going to mirror you. And exhale, side bend over towards the left side of your body. To expand doesn't mean, it's like that freedom concept. It doesn't mean we're not rooting. It doesn't mean we're not connecting. It doesn't mean we're not grounding. Press your feet into the earth, ground yourself, and then pull a little bit more on the right wrist and side bend a little bit further. Up to center with a slow, deep inhalation. And grab the right wrist with your left hand and exhale, side bend to the left. Press and root and anchor down through both of your feet as you stretch the left side of your body. Slow breath. Mindful breath. Inhale back up. Exhale and release your arms by your sides. Slow breath. Extend yourself. Expand yourself. Reach your arms up. Inhale. Interlace your fingers. Turn your palms up and stretch your body up towards the sky with your hands, down into the earth with your feet. Where are the places you'd like to grow and expand? Perhaps to include, perhaps to take something further along, moving the conversation further. Exhale and release your arms by your sides. Interlace your fingers behind your back. If this is too hard on your shoulders, you can hold on to a strap or a scarf or even a shirt. Stretch your arms back with a deep, slow inhalation. And with an exhalation, bend your knees and take your hips back and your chest forward and bring your belly to or toward your thighs. Knees bent is going to be a little softer on the lower back, on the hamstrings. Stretch the arms over the head. So let's keep the knees bent for a moment. And breathe as you stretch the arms over the head, stretching and looking at things from another angle. If stretching your legs straight is okay for you, go for it. Stretch your legs straight, maybe straighter. Inhale, bring your fingertips to the floor. Look forward. The hamstrings are stretching. Your spine stretches. Exhale, fold back in. What do you want to stretch with those body parts inside of you and in your life, and grow deeper roots and broader canopy to the tree that you are? Bend your knees, reach your hips back, chest forward, circle the arms, and come up with an inhale. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart, but notice how when you tone the back of the throat and breathe Ujjayi breath, the breath expands. Can you feel that? So that applies to other things in life. Release your arms and separate your feet wider apart. Press both of the feet into the earth and inhale and reach your arms up high. Grab the left wrist with your right hand. We'll start going in the opposite direction and exhale. Press both of your feet down as you side bend over towards the right side. And I find that, I can go very deep, but that sacrifices my lower back and my sacrum area. So I back up a little bit. Where are the places that in order to expand in a healthy way, to extend in a healthy way, you need to create very clear boundaries and back up a little bit. And that applies to the physical practice. Inhale, back up. And that applies to our lives as well. Exhale, right wrist with left hand, side bend over to the left side. Press both of the feet deeply into the earth as the right side of the body elongates. Breathing. Slow, deep breaths. Both of the feet root down as the spine elongates, as the side of the body stretches. Inhale, back up. And exhale, release your arms by your sides. Interlace your fingers behind your back. Opposite index finger on top. Stretch the arms back behind you. Deep, slow inhale. And don't forget the strap or the scarf if needed. Exhale, bend the knees again. Reach your chest forward, your hips back. And fold as you stretch your arms over your head. Breathe. Crown of the head to or toward the floor. Stretch your legs straight or straighter as the arms reach and lengthen over the head. Breathe slowly. Fingertips to the floor with an inhale. Look forward, halfway up. Hips back, chest forward. There's length in the spine. Exhale, fold back in. And sometimes we have to stretch ourselves long and wide in order to include something or someone in a conversation. Inhale, hips back, chest forward. Come all the way up. Stretch your arms up to the sky. And I don't think there are certain things, exhale the hands to the heart, that I refuse to include, like racism. Release your arms. Inhale and reach your arms up high. Press down with your feet into the earth. Interlace your fingers. Turn your palms up and stretch and lift. Like any of the things that discriminate against people for their skin color or ethnicity. That's not something I'm willing to accept, but it's something I have to make space for its existence in the world because it exists, but not accept, not be okay with, not include in the conversation, stretch and lengthen the upper body. So how do we do that? And I'm asking for a friend. Exhale and release your arms by your sides. Bring your legs back towards each other and shake your feet, shake your legs, shake your ankles, maybe your wrists as well. Inhale and reach your arms up high. Exhale, fold forward. You can bend your knees on your way down and you can keep your knees bent. You can put your hands on blocks, or even if you need to, you can put your hands or your forearms on a couch or on a chair. So do include where you are in the practice. You don't have to go to a place that isn't good for you, that isn't healthy for you, that isn't right for today. Bring your left hand outside of your right shin. Left hand, I'm going to mirror you. Left hand outside right shin. Right fingertips on the earth, right elbow bends as you turn your chest to the right and breathe. As you turn your chest to the right, turn the right hip
in the front of the body toward the left, and the right side of the ribs in the front of the body toward the left side of the ribs, and keep that engagement. You feel the pull and the lift that creates between the belly and the thigh, at least in the action of it creates a little bit of a lift. And then keep that lift, keep that engagement as you turn your chest a little bit more to the right. You open up your heart, you open up your mind, but you're not losing a connection to your core. You're including your values. The expansiveness of Brahman isn't a way for us to surrender what matters to us, what our values are. No, it's quite the contrary. Inhale back to center, left fingertips on the ground. Exhale your right hand outside of your left shin and turn your chest to the left and breathe. Right? If we take it back to the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna certainly does not ignore his perspective, his synthesis, his agenda at all. He is very clear about what he is, but he doesn't cancel other ways of thinking, other ways of being, other things that came before. He makes room for it, but he makes it very clear that he thinks differently. Untwist, inhale. Exhale, fall deeply in so the crown of the head lengthens towards the floor. Notice if you're feeling a little bit more something here, space between belly and thighs. Make your legs strong and come up with an inhale. You can bend your knees and reach your hips back and your chest forward, whether you bend your knees or keep your legs straight. Come up, arms go up. Exhale, bring your hands to the heart. So we expand our perspective sometimes by twisting. Release your arms by moving in opposite directions, right? Separate your feet wide apart. Not just by staying in one place and looking at things in a certain way. But as we twist, it doesn't mean that we disregard our own values and our own way of making meaning. Inhale, reach your arms up high. It's a both end conversation. Feet root down, upper body reaches, lengthens, opens, and then exhale. You can bend your knees on the way down or keep your legs straight as you fold deeply in. Right fingertips on the floor. We're going to bring the, left fingertips on the floor, right hand outside left shin. My goodness, right and left can be hard. Bend the left elbow as you turn your chest to the left. But as you turn your chest to the left, you'll notice that the hips and the belly want to go with you. So pull the right hip back as you also draw the right hip bone toward the left hip bone. Pull the left hip bone toward the right hip bone and draw the sides of the ribs to the center, but stabilize the whole left side of your body and turn it to the right as your chest turns to the left. You feel the difference? Such a humongous difference. One is a lot more anchored and strong, but there's a broad expansion that happens into it. Untwist with an inhalation. And exhale, bring your left hand outside of your right shin. Breathe. Right hip bone in toward the left hip bone. Left hip bone toward the right hip bone. Side of the ribs towards the center. But let the whole lower part of the body, the hip and the belly, keep you stabilized to the center toward the left as you turn your chest to the right. And it may be a little less deep in form, but it will be a lot deeper in action. As the fingertips of your right hand root into the floor, the right elbow lifts to the sky, and you turn your chest underneath it. Breathing. You might be hearing my dog, Gracie, snoring. She's taking a very nice nap right now. So sweet. Untwist with an inhalation, fingertips to the floor. Exhale, fold in. Maybe your head reaches the floor and it can rest for a moment. that thinking head. Inhale and rise up.
And thinking should not be excluded from the conversation. Exhale, bring your hands to your heart, right? Bring your feet, your legs back towards the center and shake it out. So often in the yoga tradition, or in the yoga, the yoga tradition and yoga practices, bring your left hand over your heart. I'm not mirroring you, right hand over your belly. Allow your eyes to soften and maybe close. We so often hear that meditation is not thinking. It's to turn ourselves away from thought, and good luck. And also, that's not the only way to do it. We don't have to turn our mind off. We probably can't turn the mind off. The mind is very important, and it's also limited, like anything. So breathe and include all of your parts. Every part of you can be part of the tools of your expansion. Bring yourself down to a seated position. Now you can put a blanket underneath your hips to make this position better for your back. So if you're very tight in your hamstrings and you're rounding your back, put a little cushion or a little blanket underneath your hips so you're a little bit more elevated. We're going to stretch the right leg forward and bend the left knee and pull the left knee back. Press the tips, the toenails, not the tips, the toenails of the left foot into the floor, and place your fingertips on either side of your right leg. Flex the right foot so the right leg is strong, and breathe as you push your fingertips down. Lengthen your spine. Root the pubic bone towards the earth as you lift and lengthen the crown of the head to the sky. With the front of the right hip bone, pull towards the left. With the front of the left hip bone, pull towards the right. Draw the sides of the ribs towards the center and keep the lower part of your body turning more to the left as you turn your chest, your sternum, your breastbone to the right. Now, this might be enough right there. Seated, breathing. If you can go deeper, you can go deeper. Fantastic. Make sure you're not collapsing over your leg. Make sure all that engagement is brought in. You are working on expanding and extending yourself, not by releasing your values or resting or putting to rest what came before, but rather weaving a more complex tapestry which requires participation of all the parts of you and breathing all the parts of you. If you are going to expand your mind and heart, you're going to need to breathe more deeply and slowly sometimes. Extend the chest towards the foot, sternum toward foot, crown of the head lengthens away from your sacrum. Sacrum roots towards the earth. Breathe. You can use your hand, your left hand on the outer right foot to pull yourself a little more deeply in, but careful not to pull the lower belly. Keep the lower belly turning to the left as your chest goes to the right. Extend your chest forward and come up. Inhale. And stretch your left leg forward. And pull your right foot back. Right knee back. Place the toenails of your right foot into the earth. I'm mirroring you, so I have to think about it. You can lift your hips a little bit and let them wiggle and widen and broaden. Flex the left foot. Place the fingertips on the floor on either side of your left thigh and ground the pubic bone to the earth as you lift and lengthen the crown towards the sky. As you flex your left foot, press the back of your left leg into the floor and breathe. Draw the front of your hip bones towards one another, the sides of the ribs to the center, so there's deep engagement. And turn your sternum to the left. Maybe you're going to fold forward over your legs. Expanding ourselves means noticing what's needed, noticing what's available, having the awareness of backing up when that's the healthier choice, going further when that's going to produce the kind of person and an expansive way that we want to be. But expansion doesn't always mean extending deeper and forward into the pose or into anything in life. Expanding sometimes means pulling back. Sometimes retreating from something means the possibility of something else arising, or the possibility of the very thing we retreat from regenerating itself. ASIS, the front of the hip bone, stay moving in that centering action towards each other. Sides of the ribs still pull to the center as your sternum moves to the left more, and extend the sternum toward the foot. Extend the crown of the head away from your sacrum, but ground your sacrum into the earth at the same time. Sometimes we need to move things in opposite direction in order to grow. Just the way that a plant must grow roots in order to extend and expand out of the soil and toward the light. Inhale, send your chest forward, lengthen your spine to come up and out. And then stretch both of your legs forward. Flex your feet, spread your toes. Maybe pick your hips up a little bit and wiggle your hips so that you can sit a little bit more broad on your pelvis. Lengthen your spine, lengthen the belly. And as you breathe, you can decide that you're going to stay seated here, still on the blanket if your back is rounding. Fingertips by your sides if you're staying seated. And if you're going for it, stretch your chest forward and grab your feet and pull yourself in and fold. Crown of your head toward your feet, sacrum into the earth. Lengthen. Lengthen without losing strength. So press the backs of your legs into the floor and still pull the toes towards you so the feet are flexed and the legs are strong. Expand the conversation with yourself in a way that you meet yourself where you are. You ask yourself where else you want to go. You integrate, include, and breathe with all the pieces that came before. And you have the vision, the view that grounds you and reaches you further in other directions, wide and high. Inhale, send your chest forward, lengthen your spine, and with the length, come slowly up to a seated position and sit with, let's do the opposite leg in front of you. So if there's a way you usually sit for meditation, sit with the opposite. Move your hips a little bit around and rest your hands on your thighs or on your knees. Allow your eyes to soften or close. A couple of more rounds of Ujjayi breath. You can bring your index finger and your thumbs to gently touch in Chin Mudra, the gesture of consciousness, of wisdom. And you can relax your breath, allow your breath to breathe you. No effort in the breath anymore, so the tone in the back of the throat is relaxed. yourself in your imagination, because our imagination is one of the most powerful tools that we have to expand ourselves, to reach into what you want to grow into, and to see yourself as that presence that you want to cultivate. You are already it. It's here. You're here. Include in your vision not only where you come from, but where you're going. And include in your expansion the unknown. You don't know where else you will go. As you breathe, include the unconscious. You don't always know why where you are is where you are, because some of what was is not fully understood. So include the unconscious. And allow yourself to sit with the entirety of you as an unfinished project. You are not done. You are Brahman. You are ever expanding. Sit here, stay here for as long as you feel inspired to. You can lie down and take Shavasana, but I'll say goodbye and hope that this was meaningful in one way or another. And I hope to see you soon. Please put a like on this video if you like it. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet. And I'll leave a link for you. I'll leave a couple of links for you in the description of the video. One is to subscribe to my mailing list over on mamamandala.com. And the other is to subscribe to my Substack. And both, I'm writing different pieces most of the time for both. So subscribe to both. Because I do expand the conversation and dive into some concepts in great depth. And I would love for you to be a part of that conversation and to know to know about opportunities of deepening the work. So I'll leave links for you. And I am so grateful that you're here. Share this with your people. And thank you for joining me. Namaste.